Hello everyone, welcome to what's happening in Brazil. Check out some news from the country now.
The LGBT Pride Parade is back on the streets of the city of São Paulo after 2 years of online editions due to the pandemic. It is considered the largest LGBT parade in the world. According to the event's organization, 4 million people participated in this edition, which had 19 sound trucks and many artists such as singers Ludmilla and Lineker. In an electoral year in which Brazilians will vote for president, governor, deputy, and senator, the theme of the event was Vote with Pride for a politics that represents us. In the 2018 elections, only 3 openly LGBT politicians were elected to National Congress. Movement activists complain about the lack of policies aimed at this population. Many advances, such as the criminalization of homophobia and permission for same-sex marriage, have been achieved by decisions of the Federal Supreme Court, not by laws approved in Congress. A new rise in fuel prices, which came into force on June 18th, unleashed a crisis involving Petrobras. Bolsonaro threatened to open a parliamentary inquiry commission on the state company. This Monday, June 20th, Petrobras President José Mauro Ferreira Coelho resigned from the post. The government itself had chosen him for the position. Bolsonaro's attack intends to dodge the government, which is the company's main shareholder, from the responsibility for the constant rise in prices. What causes this rise in prices to happen is the policy of international parity conditions espoused in 2016 during the Michel Temer administration. Due to this policy, Petrobras sells fuel to distributors according to the price practiced in the international market, without government intervention. In addition to the crisis between Bolsonaro and Petrobras, the new increase in prices made truckers consider going on strike.
The killings of indigenous affairs expert Bruno Pereira and English journalist Don Phillips in Amazonas state called the attention to the current situation of Brazil's National Indian Foundation, which was created to protect the rights of native peoples in the country. However, a dossier recently released shows that under Bolsonaro government, foundation serves the interests of illegal miners, loggers, and big landowners.
The confirmation of the deaths of indigenous expert Bruno Pereira and British journalist Dom Phillips on June 15th put an end to the searches that lasted for 10 days in the Amazon rainforest. That was also a period to point out links between the tragedy and the policies of the Bolsonaro government against environmentalists and indigenous experts. That's what a dossier about Funai, Brazil's National Indian Foundation, which is the main agency to protect native peoples in the country, made.
The indigenous policy has been under-prioritized for a long time. Looking to the agency's budget, we see that it was always small, but never before did Funai work against the native peoples as it has been doing now.
One of the main findings of the dossier was a detailed analysis of Marcelo Xavier's administration of the agency. He's a federal police chief and has been in a conflictual relationship since he took the position in Funai in 2019. The document made a compilation of budget reduction, staff downsizing, military appointments to key positions, and systematic persecution of servants and indigenous leaders considered inconvenient. Founded in 1967, Funai's role is to assure indigenous peoples' rights, respecting their habits, languages, beliefs, and traditions. However, the lack of support and resources has been inversely proportional to the presence of illegal miners, loggers, hunters, and drug dealers on indigenous lands. This has led to an increase in conflicts and violence. It is precisely in this gap left by the state that independent organizations have been acting, such as the Union of Indigenous Peoples of the Javari Valley, also known as Univaja, which had a fundamental role in the searches for Dom and Bruno.
The presence of invaders means not only the possibility of new massacres, but also the spreading of contagious diseases. Because of this, Univaja created a surveillance team that Bruno was supporting, since the state does not fulfill its role.
We contacted Funai but did not receive a response by the time of this broadcasting. Opposition parliamentarians and indigenous organizations believe the international repercussions of the killings is a decisive factor in changing the course of the events.
It's necessary to rethink why Funai exists, if it is to justify an anti-indigenous policy or to fulfill a constitutional duty. It must be investigated, including by us, parliamentarians.
In today's Cultural Talk, we will know the inspiring story of artist Tetê Brandolim. She started to make canvases at 83, same age when she learned reading and writing.
Tetê Brandolim's life changed when she was 83. At the time, she did not know how to read and write. She also did not see herself as a fine artist. Today she is 91 and her life is very different. She has more than 700 artistic works, all with vibrant colors as their main point. Alongside her daughter Zuzu, she tells us where her inspiration comes from.
It comes from inside. It comes from inside my heart.
Most impressive about Tetê's canvases are the chintz decorations. A frame can have thousands of small pieces of this fabric of different sizes. The reference came from the dresses her mother sewed for her when she was a child.
Chintz is an iconic fabric in Brazil. It is at every popular party, in movies and in music, To Tetê, chintz is her childhood fabric, which she artistically recreated.
Terezinha Brandolim was born in São Paulo state and lived a poor childhood. She started working at the age of 8, picking cotton and coffee. Without the opportunity to study, she did not learn to read and write. The big turn in her life came with the help of teacher Jane, who taught her to read and write. Tetê started to practice by writing cards to her kids and grandkids. These cards were decorated with flowers in chintz fabric that soon found a new place: canvases.
It was during the process of learning to read and write that she finally let her art flourish. She was an artist before. Tetê had 83 years of life locked inside her, but the fact she wasn't able to read and write didn't let the artist she had inside her get out.
Now it's time for the tastiest moment of this show. Today's recipe comes from inner São Paulo state.
Olha só que gracinha a receita.
Look at this beautiful dish we will prepare today. It is caipira, which means country dumplings, from Paraíba Valley. First, you will make the corn flour a bit thinner. Some people make it using their hands only, but I prefer to use a mixer or blender, pressing the pulse button until the flour gets thin. To make the filling with ground beef, mix the meat with chopped onion, parsley, cilantro, pepper, a bit of lemon juice, and salt to taste. While the ground beef absorbs the flavor of the spices, it is time to make the dumpling dough. Mix 500 grams of cornmeal with a handful of thin tapioca flour and salt. Then add about half of a liter of hot water and 3 tablespoons of cooking oil and mix with a wooden spoon until the flour is very hydrated. While the dough is cooling off, make sticks with the meat to make it easier to roll the dumplings. Return to the dough, which has cooled off, and knead it well. If you notice that the dough is dry, add more cold water. take a portion of it, roll it up on your hands, wrap your finger with the dough and make a hole in the middle. Put the filling inside the hole and close it. If needed, wet your finger and flatten the small cracks in the dough. Heat the oil and fry the dumplings.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We'll see you next week.